A long-awaited development has occurred in the conflict between Russia and Ukraine. Russia struck the port of Odessa with Iskander missiles. The passenger and cargo ship Zenk T, flying the Panamanian flag and owned by the Turkish company Zenk Ro-Ro, was hit by a Russian missile while anchored in the port of Odessa on the Black Sea. Following the attack on Friday evening, a statement was released by the company. The company, which stated that the ship was hit by an Iskander-type missile while docked in port, operates in both the passenger and cargo transportation sectors, and also conducts regular flights between Turkey and Ukraine. Following the incident, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs also issued a statement. In a statement regarding the attack on Ukraine's Chornomorsk port today, December 12th, which also damaged a foreign-flagged vessel belonging to a Turkish company, it was stated that the damage to the Turkish company's vessel indicates the validity of our previous concerns regarding the spread of the ongoing war in our region to the surface of the Black Sea, as well as maritime security and freedom of navigation. The statement also mentioned that no Turkish citizens were injured as a result of the attack. As we all know, Russia was successful in destroying most of the military aid packages sent to Ukraine by NATO and the US before the convoys reached the front lines. Russia's powerful intelligence was tracking the progress of these packages every step of the way. Desperate on this matter, NATO created a new shipping route, but Russia managed to detect this as well. With this operation, Russia has essentially proven that NATO was secretly aiding Ukraine through Turkey. In statements made by the Russian General Staff, they announced that they would destroy any ship they suspected of approaching Odessa without allowing it to dock. We all saw the explosion that happened on the ship belonging to Turkey. Russia is able to destroy massive ships with just one Iskander missile. Russia has achieved great successes not only in Odessa, but also on other fronts against Ukraine. The new reality of this war was defined by a tragic event that occurred in a small hut in Ballistic in the cold early hours of December. Modern discovery-focused warfare has suddenly brought a humble village shelter, ordinary, unremarkable, and almost unnoticed, to the forefront. A Russian drone silently soaring high above was watching every move of the Ukrainian soldiers inside. What happened was a rapidly coordinated attack that unfolded in minutes, demonstrating how easily covert operations can be exposed on the modern battlefield. Also, this was just the first one. Similar drone-guided attacks, following the same detection, coordination, precision, and destruction model, were carried out against Ukrainian troops in Bolshanskaya Khutura within a day, and previously in Vilchia. The battlefield is controlled by the first person to see 3 strikes, 3 moments, and 1 message. On December 12th, at the start of the event, a Russian reconnaissance UAV hovered over the borders of Ballistic, a settlement near the Trustianets direction. Thermal optics on the drone detected movement inside a house where soldiers from the Ukrainian 119th Territorial Defense Brigade were sheltering. These units were either being reorganized or seeking temporary shelter during ongoing conflicts. The drone remained stationary for several minutes, monitoring the building's entrances, verifying the presence of personnel, and tracking movement patterns. The coordinates were packaged and sent over the Russian targeting network as soon as the operators confirmed that the residence served as a temporary Ukrainian defense point. Then there was a quick transition from watching to attacking. After receiving the fire mission data, a Russian Iskander-M launcher carried out the launch. Within seconds, the missile reached its target and struck the house precisely. The building was completely destroyed by the subsequent explosion, and Russian reports confirmed that all people inside were killed. This event not only demonstrated Russia's willingness to use expensive precision weapons against relatively small tactical targets, but also how quickly Russia turns drone reconnaissance into firing options. The day before, another Russian attack demonstrated the increasing synchronization of precision rocket artillery and spy drones. Discovery footage from Volchanski Khutura revealed images of approximately 10 Ukrainian soldiers running toward a house, apparently trying to find shelter as Russian forces advanced nearby and continue to track their movements in real time. The data was analyzed almost instantly and sent to a nearby Russian Tornado S MLRS unit. From visual approval to fire preparation, this change happened remarkably quickly. Shortly after, a Tornado S guided missile was launched. As the soldiers entered the structure, the attack occurred, causing a powerful explosion that illuminated the dark area. All Ukrainian soldiers in the house were neutralized when the coup reduced the home to rubble, scattering debris across the ground. This attack is particularly noteworthy because it demonstrates the level of fire accuracy Russia is trying to achieve with its improved multiple launch rocket systems. Instead of firing widespread salvos over large areas, Tornado-S systems are now frequently used for precise engagements against specific buildings identified by drones. The scenario was repeated in the town of Vilcha in the Kharkiv Oblast, when Russian drones found additional Ukrainian troops inside a house used as a base area and temporary shelter. While the operators verified the locations, the reconnaissance UAV maintained thermal and visual observation, hovering in the air at an ideal altitude. As soon as the coordinates were determined, a Tornado-S unit operating within range received firing data. Shortly after, a guided missile was fired in the direction of the target. A powerful explosion occurred as a result of the collision, engulfing the building and sending sparks and debris flying in all directions. It was reported that the Ukrainian personnel inside were neutralized and the structure was completely destroyed. As the Vilcha attack also shows, Russia is increasingly using a standardized process. Use drones to detect soldiers, observe, verify their presence, exchange coordinates, and quickly conduct a precise engagement. One of the distinguishing features of contemporary Russian operations is this sequence, known as the chain of death from drone to artillery. Examining the systems that underpin these December strikes, particularly the Tornado-S multiple launch rocket system, which enables precise targeting, and reconnaissance drones, is essential to understanding their effectiveness. The Tornado-S multiple launch rocket system, created as a significant upgrade to Russia's most advanced long-range rocket artillery vehicle, the BM-30 Smerch. MLRS units have a history of launching dozens of unguided rockets over large target areas using a tactic known as area saturation fire. However, Russia's deployment of the Tornado-S signaled a shift from mass fire to precision-guided engagement. Using GLONASS satellite navigation, Tornado-S missiles can target a precise coordinate rather than a general grid square. This evolution reflects NATO's use of HIMARS, while the Tornado-S retains the advantage of significantly heavier warheads and longer-range ammunition, with a range of approximately 120 to 200 kilometers. Meanwhile, the reconnaissance drones, which are the real basis of these activities, have changed. Systems like Orlan 10 and Zala are now integrated into Russia's digital battlefield, providing continuous surveillance, thermal detection, and long-term observation capabilities. In the earlier stages of the war, Russian drones frequently struggled with real-time target integration. But by the end of 2023 and into 2024, Russia had developed much more regular procedures. Today, drones not only detect targets, but also provide live corrections during artillery strikes. And by conducting immediate post-attack assessments, they create a complete cycle that ensures precision systems like the Tornado-S operate at maximum efficiency. When considered together, these operations reveal several key trends that are shaping the future of high-intensity conflict. Discovery-focused firepower is becoming the central pillar of dominance on the modern battlefield, where the ability to see first increasingly guarantees the ability to strike first. The reaction times of the soldiers on the ground are reduced to a few minutes, which requires constant mobility and dispersal. Constant drone surveillance makes static positions, especially within structures, more dangerous. Rapid advancements in digital integration between offensive and reconnaissance weapons herald an era where automated targeting networks will be commonplace. We constantly follow the developments on the front lines for you. In the direction of Kupiansk, the Ukrainian armed forces are scattered and continue to suffer heavy losses from attacks carried out by Russian troops. Near the village of Podilai, Russian FPV drone operators detected and destroyed a Ukrainian armed forces tank in a subsequent attack. The resulting fireball speaks volumes. A Uragan MLRS unit of the 25th Joint Armed Forces of the Russian Western Forces Group destroyed armored vehicles and personnel belonging to Ukrainian armed forces units in Krasnolymansk in attacks coordinated with Russian reconnaissance UAV units. Precise strikes enabled Russian assault groups to advance and position themselves with minimal movement. The coordinated movement of all elements towards a common goal will yield results. In recent attacks along the Donbass line, a KVN-23 FPV drone crew from the BPS unit of the 106th Airborne Division of the Russian Armed Forces destroyed an ATV, a repeater antenna, a ground robotic system, a mortar, a bunker with personnel, a pickup truck, and a Ukrainian armored personnel carrier. The Zemlyadelye ISDM of the Russian Central Force Group blocked enemy movement and supply routes in the direction of Krasnoarmeysk. Russian military engineers created minefields along supply routes and potential escape routes for Ukrainian infantry by firing a salvo of programmable munitions. An FPV drone crew from a tank unit belonging to the Russian Western Forces Group destroyed hidden bunkers, shelters, and Ukrainian armed forces personnel in a special operations zone near Pokrovsk. In Dmitrov, scattered groups of the Ukrainian armed forces, deprived of all support from Russian troops, continue to suffer losses. Those who realize the impending disaster are surrendering. Those who do not surrender are being captured by Russian soldiers. Russian FPV drone operators worked on a truck carrying supplies to Ukrainian positions in the direction of Sumy. Russian drone operators demonstrated their dominance in Sumy airspace with footage they released. A Russian FPV drone operator successfully detonated a heavily explosive-laden hexacopter drone, described as a Baba Yaga, that entered their field of view, ending its mission along with its payload. This also prevented potential attacks. In the direction of Sumy, Russian armed forces destroyed Ukrainian armed forces positions with Lightning missiles equipped with incendiary warheads during an attack. Images have been released showing Ukrainian armed forces targets destroyed by Russian Rubicon Center teams along the Donetsk line. Among the targets successfully destroyed by Russian FPV drone operators affiliated with the center are automotive and armored vehicles, ground robotic systems, communication system components, and temporary deployment points of the Ukrainian armed forces. Footage showing a Russian Armed Forces Mobile Air Defense Group's Manpads crew destroying a Ukrainian Armed Forces UAV in the Kharkiv border region clearly demonstrated the nature of the defense being conducted. Around Konstantinovka, Ukrainian Armed Forces drone launch sites, located in isolated places, are being identified and then systematically destroyed in attacks. Although Ukrainian troops are trying to operate in a civilian guise within normal structures, Russian forces are not allowing this. Russian armed forces rocket units continue to attack Ukrainian armed forces positions. A Grad MLRS unit from the Russian Western Self-Propelled Artillery Regiment conducted a regional assault targeting Ukrainian armed forces personnel and equipment in the Krasnolimansk region. Additionally, rocket crews from the Russian Eastern Forces destroyed Ukrainian positions in Huliai-Pole in the Zaporizhia region. Combat units of the Novorossiysk Guards Mountain Corps, part of the Dnieper Group of the Russian Armed Forces, collaborated with drone operators to clear mines along the routes of assault groups during the liberation of the villages of Primorskoye and Stepnogorsk in the Zaporizhia region. After identifying dangerous objects, the operator team immediately launches the drones. Following precise positioning and verification of the target, a special device is activated to detonate the explosive on site. Russian unmanned systems unit specialists continue to inflict heavy losses on the Ukrainian armed forces along the front line. UAV operators from the Russian Northern Force Group destroyed enemy artillery positions in the Sumy region. UAV operators from the Russian Vostok Force Group detected a camouflaged position of an American-made M777 towed artillery system and several D-30 cannons near Huliaipol. Attack UAV operators from the Russian Dnipro Force Group destroyed a BVS-10 armored personnel carrier and a Ukrainian Armed Forces food depot on the right bank of the Dnieper River in the Kherson region. A crew of a Grad MLRS belonging to the Russian Yuzhnaya Force Group fired 122mm rockets at a temporary deployment point of the Ukrainian armed forces in the Konstantinovka sector. The attack resulted in the destruction of the temporary deployment point, along with its Ukrainian personnel. A Molnia-2 UAV crew belonging to the Sever Unmanned Systems Unit of the Russian Armed Forces destroyed a Ukrainian Armed Forces fortress in the Kharkiv sector with a precision strike operation after movement in the forest belt was detected using coordinates. Ukrainian Armed Forces infantry units surrendered en masse in Dmitrov. All supply routes to Dmitrov were cut off by units of the Russian Center Force Group, and Ukrainian Armed Forces personnel attempting to defend the city suffered heavy losses. Understanding the desperation of the Ukrainian troops and wishing to save their lives, the Russian Armed Forces Command launched an intensive operation against Ukrainian Armed Forces positions. As a result, Ukrainian Armed Forces soldiers, realizing the true situation and seeing a chance for survival, began to surrender en masse, raising their hands. Russian FPV drone operators destroyed a Ukrainian Armed Forces pickup truck used for covert ammunition delivery near Novopavlovka at night. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to follow our next videos.